and welcome to European Championship Karting here on Eurosport. This is Ben Edwards with you from Mariembourg in Belgium. The third round of the series, races 5 and 6, adding to the points tally for this very important key series in the world of karting. The driver's presentation before the start of events here in Belgium, and rather rough weather around, quite a lot of rain during the qualifying heats, but things getting better for finals day and the track just beginning to dry out before we get the finals underway. Well, it's the third time there's been an event in Mariembourg, and I'll welcome as ever from Karting Federation President Ernest Boozer.
My dear friends, we are here in Mariembourg for the third Grand Prix of the European Championship. We are all sad due to the fact that one of our great friends, Vice President of the CIK, Victor Alassar, passed away this week. Victor Alassar was one of the first pioneers for karting in France. Victor Alassar was also one of the most important pillars we had in international karting. We will certainly miss him for a long time.
So sadness before the start of the weekend. Ernest Boozer losing a close friend and an important and key figure in the world of karting. But time to move on from that and move on to the first race, and that for the Formula A's. Now remember, we'll be seeing 2 races from the Formula A's and 2 races also from the Formula Super A's. Both races go to score points in the European Championship. It's the best 5 scores out of 8 races throughout the course of the season that add up to the final points tally. So 3 scores are dropped throughout the year, and that's very important in terms of the overall championship. Leading at the moment in Formula A, Giorgio Pantano with 60 points, and he's been unbeaten so far in this year's European Championship. So let's get this first race underway. Giorgio Pantano starting back in 12th position, so it hasn't been such good qualifying runs for him so far. It's Nicolas Delandre, the Belgian. Oh, we've got problems at the first corner already. Philippe Clostermans and Ennio Gadolfi both getting tied up on the first corner, so disappointment for them. But up front, it's still Belgian on home territory. Nicolas Delandre second place, Sonny Pedersen. Third place is Britain Nick Jest, and then Daniel Weldon also well up, number 187. Watch out for him, another Brit. And then Roberto Cardelli and Cedric Convert, the Frenchman, number 112. Well, there is 173, Nicolas Delandre, race leader at the moment, and beginning to pull away a little bit from Sonny Pedersen. There you can see the battle for second place. Number 129 there is British driver Nick Jest in his first season of Formula A in Europe. And remember, Formula A is just below the Premier Division. It's the first division of karting, if you like. Oh, somebody getting up on the curb. That was Marcus Gustafsson, just losing a few places and dropping down the order a little bit. Still, it's Nicolas Delandre from Sonny Pedersen in second position, with Nick Jest in third, but coming under some pressure by the looks of things. But at the moment, Delandre still managing to rule the roost, using the Tony Kart frame, Ital system engine, and on Bridgestone tyres, and certainly the Bridgestone tyres performing well so far in the European Championships, particularly in Formula Super A. In Formula A, we're watching now, then it's been a little bit more of an even battle between the Vega tyre company and Bridgestones, but certainly the Bridgestones with Nicolas Delandre going very well at this early stage in this first final. There in second place is Sonny Pedersen, and there with the Nigel Mansell crash helmet. Well, that's an Italian driver, believe it or not a British driver. The Italians certainly very keen on Nigel Mansell, and well, one of their drivers deciding to copy his crash helmet colours. Still up front then is Nicolas Delandre, second place. Pedersen with Daniel Weldon. Well, he's dropped back a little bit now. Weldon has dropped down the order. Looks like he's down in about 6th position. So he's been passed by Roberto Cardelli and Cedric Convert. Those two are now battling away, but still Delandre leading this Formula A race. Now remember, all the 100cc 2-stroke engines in both Formula A and Formula Super A. The only difference in the 2 categories really is in the air intakes. A little bit more power is taken from the Formula Super A engines than Formula A, and certainly in Formula Super A it really is the cream of the best competitors from around the world. Formula A still sees a very high standard of driver. What we're watching now, the likes of Nick Jest there, number 129, still has had to perform at a very high level in karting in the UK to even be able to get a license to be able to perform in Formula A in Europe. Well, he's being chased pretty closely by Frenchman Cédric Convert, but Nicolas Delandre is still our race leader from Sonny Persson, then Nick Jest in third place, with in fourth position Cédric Convert, then in fifth place Roberto Cardelli, sixth position still for Daniel Weldon, but still a long way to go in this first Formula A race of the weekend. Well, it was Philipp Klostermans, who we saw in trouble earlier on, who actually set the fastest time in the practice runs earlier on. But we saw heat wins to qualify for this race from Giorgio Pantano, the championship leader, but he's running a little further down the order at the moment. Keep an eye out for Pantano, number 152, championship leader, hoping to wrap up the Formula A title here this weekend in Belgium, but he needs to move his way up the order a little bit. Still plenty of time to go though, so still a good chance for Pantano to take this European title. Sonny Persson we're looking at now, he won one of the qualifying heats to qualify him well up on the grid for the final itself. Cédric Convert was also another heat winner. Philipp Klostermans, Sascha Weber and Nick Jest, the other winners of the respective heats in Formula A. Well, it's only getting pretty close up front, with Nicolas Delandre still just maintaining a slight advantage over Sonny Persson. Nick Jest consistently there in third place, doesn't seem to be able to find a way past Sonny Persson, but meanwhile he's still keeping Cédric Convert just behind him. Daniel Weldon then leading that next little group. Douglas Bell and Michael Parson, other two British drivers in this race. Michael Parson qualifying in 24th place for this final, and Douglas Bell in 28th. So they've got some work to do to try and feature in the point scoring positions by the end of the race. And Nick Jest certainly in fine form, in third place still. Relaxed style there from Jest. Just trying to look after the tyres a little bit. The track, quite a fast circuit, the very fast section, start-finish line, but then a very twisty section as well, a lot of corners, and that of course built up a lot of heat into the tyres. Although having said that, the track surface is somewhat slippery, along with the rain that's been around this weekend. It's made the track conditions slightly tricky for the competitors, and to look after the tyres as well is always a key part of karting at this level. If you're too hard on the tyre, sliding the kart around too much in the early stages, then the performance of the tyres definitely going off, and the drivers then dropping back in the latter stages. 18 laps, remember, quite a long way, and therefore a key part of the challenge of the race is to look after the tyres and keep them in good shape for the latter stages. Sonny Persson still 156, still in second place on his CRG with Rotax engine. Bridgestone tyres once again for him. Nick Jest 129. Well, he's on the Fullerton kart, same kart as being used by Daniel Weldon, in fact. Weldon having switched from the right frame earlier in the year to the Fullerton kart, and Terry Fullerton very involved in the program for Daniel Weldon. Former world karting champion himself, Terry Fullerton, back in 1973, and somebody who can offer tremendous advice to these young drivers. He's raced on all of the European circuits, and those little bits of experience and advice so valuable for these young guys trying to make their names in the world of European Championship karting. So Nick Jest still there in third place, still being chased by Cédric Convert. Daniel Weldon still some way behind this group. There he is, you can just see him in fifth place now. So it looks as though Roberto Cardelli has dropped out of the equation, one of the front runners earlier on, but he's certainly dropped back a little bit. Cardelli currently fourth in the championship coming into this race, with Pantano, the championship leader, ahead of Gastão Fraguas in second place. in the series. And then Japanese driver Kentaro Kitakami in 3rd place coming into this. Daniel Weldon, leading Brit, down in 9th position on 12 points after the first 2 rounds in Italy and in France. But look at that, Weldon's now joined onto the back of this lead group. Number 187 there, that is Weldon, and he now really is beginning to challenge, and in fact he finds a way past Cedric Convair. So the first real piece of overtaking that we've seen in this lead group, as Weldon moves up 1 place. Now into 4th position, Convair down to 5th place. Still race leader, Nicolas Delandre still in 2nd place. Sonny Persson, then 3rd, Nick Jest. So we've got British drivers 3rd and 4th now. Still some little way to go in this first final in the Formula A category. There is Weldon, number 187, closing up, making up a little bit more ground on these leaders. And now he really has closed up right behind Nick Jest. Well, to get to this stage, get to the final of the weekend here in Mariembourg, well, that's quite some achievement in itself. And you consider there's something like 90 drivers in the Formula A category this year, all trying to fight their way up. And look at this, Weldon goes past Nick Jest. Weldon dives down the inside into that first corner. Very clean piece of overtaking. And he goes through into 3rd place. And meanwhile, sitting by the side of the road, Flip Klostermans, the man who set the fastest time in practice, but disappointment in the race itself. So the question is now, can Daniel Weldon do even more? He's up into 3rd place, he's on the podium already, but he now has the chance of getting past Sonny Persson. Now Weldon has just come from his most successful outing ever, recently winning the World Cup event in Japan, major international event that, and Daniel Weldon the winner, and that's one of the biggest wins for a British driver in the last couple of years. And now that really has renewed his confidence after a difficult season in the British Championships in 1994. Now with that Fullerton car, the Rotax engines really working well, and now beginning to challenge for 2nd position from Sonny Persson. And Andy gets alongside. Now can he make that move stick? No, he can't. Persson holds him off for another corner, but now he's ideally suited to get into the slipstream. No, Persson cuts off the approach into the first corner. Now we've seen him go past here, and he does it again. Daniel Weldon moves up into 2nd position ahead of Sonny Persson now, and continues his climb up the order. Well, it wasn't a great start for Daniel Weldon. Initially in 4th, dropped down to 7th position, but now he's worked his way up gradually, bit by bit, into 2nd place, and is now chasing after Nicolas Delandre, the man who's led the entire race so far. Delandre qualified on the outside of the front row. It was Persson who was on pole position, but he is now coming under serious pressure from Weldon. As close as ever now, Daniel Weldon looking for the opportunity. Just a quick look over his shoulder to see if there's anybody else close to challenging him. He hasn't got to worry about anybody taking that 2nd place from him, as long as he doesn't make too big a mistake. So he's got the chance to really have a go here and try and take the lead of this Formula A final. And he's going through. Well, he makes it look easy in the end. Blasts past Nicolas Delandre. Daniel Weldon goes in front. And this, a superb fight back up the field. Weldon now leading. Now the question is, can he pull away? The speed with which he was able to get past Delandre would certainly indicate that the kart is really working well in these conditions now. It is a slippery surface, but it would seem to be suiting him absolutely perfectly. On to the last lap then, and Daniel Weldon is heading for his first ever victory in a European Championship round. He had to do it the hard way as well after a bad start, but it's all gone well from him since then, and Daniel Weldon takes victory. Fabulous result. Nicolas Delandre stay in 2nd place, Cedric Convair in 3rd, with Nick Jest holding on well to 4th position, and that an excellent performance from the other British driver right up there as well, with Sonny Persson finishing in 5th position. 6th place for Gustave Fragois, and for Giorgio Pantano, championship leader coming into this race, well, he managed to finish down in 10th place. So a disastrous day for the Italian so far, but still one more race to come in the Formula A. So will the battle be rejoined between Daniel Wheldon and championship leader Giorgio Pantano? We're going to have to find out in just a few minutes' time here on Eurosport. Daniel Wheldon receiving the trophy for the first win. Come back in a moment to see how he gets on in race 2. Welcome back to European Karting from Mariembourg in Belgium. And we're about to get underway with the second final in the Formula A. Both final scoring points towards the championship, although the bottom 3 scores out of the 8 races throughout the year are dropped, remember. Well, Daniel Wheldon winning the first race, and that's his best result of the year so far. He led in Salbris in France in the second final there, but went out with problems. So at last, he's taken the win that he came so close to in France. And now can he do it again in the second race? Starts from pole position in this one, thanks to the win in the first race. Nicolas Delandre will start alongside him. Nick Jest, of course, will start on the second row, with Michael Parson having gone well in that first race, so he starts 12th in this race. Douglas Bell starting back in 30th after some problems for him in that first event. Karts coming round, we saw problems already there for Gregory Deveau, leaping in the air. That was the number 114 kart, but everyone else seems to be settled, ready to go. The pace car moves out. Oh, and there's more problems. Somebody else climbing over the back of somebody else, but diving into the early lead once again is Nicolas Delandre, with Daniel Wheldon slotting into second position this time. So certainly better than he was at the start. Oh, we've got other karts all over the place as well, and that's Gustave Fragois, one of the leaders in the championship. So problems there already for Fragois, and he really is not having a great day. Didn't finish brilliantly well up in the first race, and now he's dropped right to the back, even if he does manage to get going once again. So it's a bit of a turnaround in the championship so far today. Nicolas Delandre right up there once again, and he hasn't really featured in the races held so far this year. Pantano taking all of the victories in the championship so far, but there is Nicolas Delandre ahead of Daniel Wheldon in second place. Nick Jest is in third position. So going well once again, and then Cedric Convert right behind him, the man who was behind him throughout the first race. Now Giorgio Pantano, there he is, number 152. Pantano better up in this race than he was in the first, so keep an eye on his progress, and let's see whether he can make his presence a little bit more keenly felt in this one than he did in the last. There's Cedric Convert going past Nick Jest, and Pantano goes through as well. So it would appear that Giorgio Pantano has found a little more performance from the CRG with the Rotax engine, and now he's beginning to close up a little bit to the leaders up front. Nicolas Delandre is still our race leader, however. The rest of the field filing through, and there is the Belgian who had the early lead in the first race as well, but Wheldon was able to come on strong in the latter part of that first race, so I think he'll be quite comfortable there in second position at the moment. His work certainly a lot easier than it was in the first race when he dropped down to 7th. And there, looking at Sonny Persson. Well, oh, and there's a little bit of contact there between him and Pantano. All getting a little bit too close for comfort. There's Nick Jest, 129. And right behind him, Cardelli. So is Wheldon closing up a little bit? Well, not much, but they're definitely pulling away from Cedric Convert in third place in that own little battle that they're involved in at the moment. More battles going on further down as well. Oh, and there is Gustave Fragois. He didn't manage to get started again, so disappointment for the Brazilian. No points to add to his tally, but there is Wheldon now really beginning to put the pressure on Delandre. It's getting very, very much closer. And he's gone past. Daniel Wheldon goes through, takes the lead. Well, that was the mistake really from Delandre. You saw him get on the curb and make the mistake, and that gives the opportunity for Wheldon to go in front once again. So Delandre, it only takes the slightest mistake to throw away the lead in karting that's as competitive as this, and Wheldon goes in front once again. So now he's got to hold on to it for a bit longer. But with that first win under his belt, the win in the World Cup recently as well, it's all going his way at the moment. 3 times cadet champion in the UK, Daniel Weldon. Won the Junior British Championship in 1993 as well. Not a good year last year, but certainly this year is going very well indeed at the moment. And success like this certainly opening the doors, both in terms of a future in karting over the next couple of years, but as well, of course, in terms of single-seater motor racing. Weldon has already done a little bit of single-seater racing. He's competed with the Jim Russell School in Formula Vauxhall Junior. And, well, perhaps that's the sort of direction he'll be heading in if he continues up this sort of run of success. And there'll certainly be 1 or 2 single-seater teams interested in taking him the next step up the ladder. And that, of course, is what karting at this level is all about, creating the talent of the future. There's a great battle going on for second place there, and Nicolas Delandre really coming under some serious pressure from Cedric Convert. Crowd watching on. Great battle going on here as well, with several cars involved. Stefan Olsson, Philip Klostermans and Marcus Gustafsson. Oh, and there's contact between them. Oh, and they're off. 2 of them go off. 149, Stefan Olsson, and it looked like it was Philip Klostermans, 111. Well, there was contact. All 3 of them actually hit each other. It was Marcus Gustafsson hit the back of Klostermans. Klostermans hit the back of Olsson. And look at that, they went straight off. And look at where the crowd is standing there. And that really could have been quite nasty with those railings just by the crowd and the karts. Well, not a great deal of protection there, it has to be said. And perhaps there should have been a few straw bales around just to add to the protectiveness as they went off there. But basically it looks as though nobody hurt in that incident. But obviously the end of their race. They're in second place then, still the Belgian. Nicolas Delandre still fighting off Cedric Convert in 3rd place. But it's still Daniel Weldon leading this race. Oh, and there's another mistake. Same place for Nicolas Delandre as he made the mistake when Weldon went past. And Cedric Convert takes advantage of it. There's Weldon then. Look at the lead he's developed already. Convert in 2nd position. 3rd place now for Stallone. 4th place is Cardinelli. And then the rest of the field battling through. Giovanni Myra there. Giorgio Pantano just to the head of that little section. But this little battle for 2nd place doesn't look as though it's finished yet, because Delandre is still right with Convert, and it doesn't look as though Convert has been able to pull away as we might have expected from the way that he was chasing Stallone earlier on. Daniel Weldon's lead growing all the time, but we're keeping an eye on this battle for 2nd place. Weldon just putting his hand down to choke the carburetor. The end of the straight where they lift off the throttle just to make sure there's plenty of fuel oil mixture. Delandre taking that 2nd place back there from Cedric Convert. So Delandre indeed still very much on the pace in the latter stages. He might not be able to live with Daniel Weldon, but he's managed to retake 2nd position. Convert still on the challenge though. Look how relaxed he is at the wheel. Again, just choking the carb, making sure the engine's protected when it's lifting off the throttle from high revs. Remember, these little 2-stroke engines, they're revving up to around 19,000 revs per minute. Astonishing speed that that little piston is charging up and down inside the barrel of the engine. And any help that it can get in terms of reliability from the driver just putting his hand down over the inlet is very welcome. These are very highly tuned little engines, and these karts capable of speeds up to about 80 miles an hour, and indeed quite a fast track here at Mariembourg, and those sort of speeds will be gained at the end of the main start-finish straight. Well, the engine tuning, a very critical part of the tuning of the whole outfit. The frame is carefully adjusted, the engine's tuned to the nth degree to get the very best out of them, changing in various atmospheric conditions as well. This battle still going on for 2nd, but on to the last lap goes Daniel Weldon. Well, he's certainly enjoying a good performance from his package. The engine tuned by John Gravitz of JAG, based down near Haywards Heath, and it's victory again for Daniel Weldon. 2nd place for Nicolas Delandre and 3rd place for Cedric Convert. So great racing once again, and a great performance from Daniel Wheldon. He'll be celebrating his 17th birthday tomorrow, and what an ideal birthday present.
This weekend went really well. We had a bit of trouble in the heats with tyre wear, but fortunately we got over that and come through and won both finals.
So what next?
Well, hopefully if I win the next 2 rounds at Genk and Giorgio Pantano comes out the top 3, I can actually take the European title, but then after that hopefully the world crown.
So Wheldon's still in with a chance of taking the European Championship. You'll be able to watch all that on Eurosport in coming weeks. And we'll be back with Formula Super A after the break. Welcome back to Mariembourg for Formula Super A now, the real top class category in karting in Europe. And we're going to see the best fighting over 2 races, with on pole position for this first final, Alessandro Manetti. Number 1, he's got Japanese driver Yusuke Matsuura next to him, but that's Michael Simpson, top British prospect, number 54, and he's in trouble. That engine has not fired up properly. He's trying to get it started again. You see how he's trying to bump start it. Remember, there's no clutch with these Formula Super A karts. Direct drive from the engine to the rear axle. So the bump start, the only way of getting it started. But Michael Simpson is not going to take the start. And what a disappointment for Simpson, because he was the fastest in the qualifying. But we're getting the first race underway. Alessandro Manetti, number 1. But it was an amazing start there from Marco De Pauw. He was back on the 7th row of the grid, number 19. And De Pauw leads. Oh, we've got problems there as well, with several karts all getting tied up. And well, it looks as though most people have managed to get through. Frederic Blanc was one of the ones we saw in trouble. And Jarno Thierry as well. Looks as though his race may well be over. So, disappointment for Simpson already. It's been a disastrous year for him. Really had a very tough time indeed. Didn't get into the finals in Salbris in France. Had a 2/13 in South Garda in Italy. But look at this man, Alessandro Manetti. Absolutely on form here. And the battle's going on behind him, number 44. Well, that's the man who's actually leading the championship at the moment. Massimiliano, 45 points ahead of Jarno Trulli. So he finds himself a little further down than he would have hoped. More battles going on behind him as well. But up front, it's Alessandro Manetti, opening up quite a lead over Marco De Pauw after that absolutely remarkable start. And it's Bobby Game, in fact, in 3rd place. Number 23, another British driver with a great chance into his 2nd full year in Europe. And oh, and that's Beliki going through. Beliki manages to take that place. So a good piece of overtaking for Andrea Beliki, another Fullerton kart driver. And the Fullerton kart certainly going well here at Mariembourg this weekend. Andrea Beliki making up but 1 place. And meanwhile, we've got the 2 Swiss Atlas teammates, Daniele Perilla and Massimiliano Orsini, battling away. And well, I think perhaps Perilla making life easy for Orsini. Orsini's number 44 there, and the man leading the championship. He can wrap up the Formula Super A European Championship here in Belgium if he gets 2 strong results. He's already won 3 races in the championship so far. And remember, it's your best 5 finishes that give you the result at the end of it all. So if he can get 2 good results here this weekend, then he's confirmed himself the European Championship. But there's some way to go yet, and we've still got Alessandro Manetti leading this race. 2nd place, Marco De Pauw. 3rd place, Bobby Game. Then it's Orsini, then Daniele Perilla, and then right behind is Andrea Beliki. Well, Alessandro Manetti, world champion last year in Formula Super A, after that tremendous event in Argentina at the end of the year when he fought his way through in the dying moments to take the victory. This year, racing in Formula Renault Sport in the European Cup. In fact, already made his move into single-seater racing, but his budget has run a bit short, so he's come back into karting. Well, he was already planning to do the karting anyway, but he's also looks as though he's having to give up his Formula Renault campaign and is going off to race Formula 2000 in Italy instead, due to lack of sponsorship. And what a shame to see a talented driver like Manetti not getting the money to race at the top level. But this is a good battle going on further back. Andrea Beliki trying to find his way past Daniele Perilla. There's Alessandro Manetti. Another of these cheerful Italians. seen a whole bunch of them to work their way up from karting into single-seater ranks, and quite a few, of course, having made it into Grand Prix racing. Marco Depot still in second place, but where Bobby Gain is now down to fourth place. So Bobby Gain has lost out a little bit there, dropping down the order a touch. Manetti with that big lead. I don't think anybody's going to be able to challenge that really now. Depot still in second. Now then, third place indeed is Orsini, and Beliki has now come up into fourth place. So Bobby Gain definitely dropping down the order. Looks as though he may have some sort of problem. 23-year-old from Bicester, Bobby Gain, has been karting now for several seasons. Actually had a go at single-seater racing as well. He's come back into karting, and there, fighting his way up, Cesare Balistreri, number 6. Using Vega tyres, Balistreri, and certainly the Vegas not seeming to, and there is Bobby Gain dropping further and further down the order. Or is he? No, he gets that place back again, in fact. Good battles going on further down. René van Amiden from the Netherlands just being displaced once again. And there, further back than we might have expected either of them to be, Johnny Smysliewicz, and also number 67 is Christophe Vasseur. Now Vasseur won one of the previous events, that in Salbris in France. In fact, it was the last round of the championship to be held. But the Tony karts not going quite so well this weekend so far. David O'Neill there, we just had a quick shot, number 43, another British driver with high hopes in the European Championships this year. O'Neill in that little gaggle of karts, so he's ahead of Bobby Gain now. But up front, remember, it's still Alessandro Manetti. That's Andrea Beliki, number 9. And it looks as though he's moved up into second place now, ahead of Marco Depot. Indeed he has, so Beliki going very, very well indeed on the Fullerton kart. Also with his Rotaxes tuned by JAG. And that seems to be an excellent mixture to have this weekend in Belgium. Manetti, meanwhile, on the CRG, also with a Rotax power unit. Rotax definitely still dominating in terms of numbers, but with 17 different engines being used in Formula Super A this year, things really have opened up with many of the kart manufacturers now involved in building their own engines as well. Manetti still looking very, very comfortable up front. Very smooth. See how little he's fighting the wheel. And then the battle somewhat further back. Natalie Maggio, number 34 there. Man who lost out in the World Championships last year in those dying stages. And there, getting into trouble once again, was René van Amiden. And now he's got Sophie Kumpen challenging, one of the girls in Formula Super 8. Very, very quick. Hasn't had quite such as promising a season as she would have hoped. Oh, and in fact, she runs wide. Sophie Kumpen off the track onto the grass, and that's disappointing for her. Alessandro Manetti continues to lead. Beliki in second place, then it's Orsini in third position, chased up by Finn Sode. And in fact, Finn Sode gets past Massimiliano Orsini. And meanwhile, the battle for second place is hotting up once again. Andrea Beliki coming under more pressure from Marco Depau. Well, this is looking good for Orsini. None of his main rivals in the championship seem to be doing too well. The Tony karts, Jarno Trulli currently second in the championship, Christophe Vasseur third. And, well, they don't seem to be featuring. Perhaps these slippery track conditions not suiting the Tony kart quite so well. A kart perhaps that prefers hot weather conditions and a grippy surface to really get the best out of it. But the CRG of Manetti seems to be extremely well adapted, as does Beliki's Fullerton kart. Manetti just flicking it on the brakes. Right foot on the accelerator, left foot on the brake. Remember, the brake just operating on a single disc on the rear axle. So as soon as you hit the brakes hard, locks up the rear wheels, both rear wheels. But that's all part of the technique of karting. Flick the kart into the corner. And it's something that Manetti is doing that a little bit better than everybody else at the moment. Big lead for Manetti from Andrea Bellicchi, second position. Marco De Paul in third place. And these three really have stretched out their advantage quite considerably. On to the last lap then for Alessandro Manetti. And it looks as though it's going to be victory in the first of the Formula Super A finals here in Belgium. And some useful points for him, but as he didn't race at Salisbury, thanks to racing in the Formula Renault Euro Cup, then his championship chances are somewhat limited this year, it has to be said. Never mind, he will be keen and anxious to get this win under his belt. And certainly looking good for him. There is Daniele Perilla just moving out of the way of Massimiliano Orsini. And in fact, he's also waving through there. Number 55 card of Finn Sode. Coming through to the checker flag then. Manetti wins from Bellicchi in second place. Marco De Paul in third. And Massimiliano Orsini scoring good points for fourth position. Daniele Perilla taking fifth place. David Forde taking sixth. So the Brits, David O'Neill finishing in 26th position, Edward P down in 29th, Bobby Game and Michael Simpson both failing to finish the race, so not such a good run for them in the end. Manetti taking the first victory. The question is, can he repeat that in the second Formula Super A final? Well, we'll find out in just a few minutes' time here on Eurosport, right after the break. Race from Belgium, second final in the Formula Super A's. The Elf pace car leading the karts around once again. This new introduction for 1995. This legend race car from the United States, one of only one or two in Europe in fact, and being used to lead the karts around at the beginning of the formation lap. See all the karts being bump started with no clutch, of course. There's no possibility of a standing start, so the rolling start is required, and the pace car will gather them all together and then get things underway. This machine powered by a 1000cc Yamaha motorcycle engine. So in keeping, and it's being driven by former European champion in karting, Guy Denis. So he's pretty well versed in the techniques of getting a kart away, and so brings them round to the start line, and then he'll accelerate out of the way and let them get on with the race. So away we go then, and it's a good start from Alessandro Manetti, winner of the first race. Number one charges into the lead once again. He's being traced by Andrea Bellicchi. Oh, there's some bashing and boring going on. It looks as though just about everyone's got through. Michael Simpson, you can see, with the white and red crash helmet, the St George's Cross crash helmet. Well, he seemed to make up a few places. Remember, he had to start at the back for this race after his problems. He and Bobby Game joined each other on the back row of the grid after their problems in the first race. So they've got plenty of work to do. Another man with plenty of work to do, Nicola Gianniberti. Oh, look at that. Massimiliano Orsini moving up past David Forde, number 22. And Jarno Trulli also better up in this one. Daniele Perilla, number 46 there. Very experienced kartist. Just holding on from Jesper Karlsson. And then Giuseppe Palmieri also in that little group. Right at the back, Christophe Vassor, Frenchman, winner of the second round in Salisbury. Well, Simpson's already made up about 8 places from starting at the back. Didn't quite get to see where Bobby Game had moved his way up to. Meanwhile, battle going on there. That's Palmieri getting past Karlsson into that first corner. We've seen quite a lot of overtaking going on into that first corner. We saw the same in the Formula A's from Daniel Weldon, and it seems to be quite a popular place to try and overtake. But up front. It looks as though Alessandro Manetti is stretching out the advantage once again, just as he did in the first race. There's Beliki, second place. There's Marco De Paul, third position, under attack from championship leader Massimiliano Orsini. Oh, and he's gone through. Looked as though there was a little touch between them perhaps, but Orsini moves up into third place now. Remember, if Orsini gets a good result, then it could confirm him as European champion. And he looks pretty determined to get it all wrapped up here in Belgium before the final 2 rounds of the series. There is Orsini really putting the pressure on Beliki now. And indeed, he's drawing alongside. It looks as though he's going to go through. Indeed, he does. So Orsini on the Swiss Atlas kart. Ital system engine being used by Orsini. And it certainly has proved to be the combination to beat this year in Formula Super 8. Taking both wins in South Garda in Italy, opening 2 rounds of the championship, winning the first round in France, then getting involved in a bit of a contretemps with Jarno Trulli in the second race in France, and that meant he didn't finish at all. But apart from that non-finish, it's been maximum scores up until that first race that we just saw, with Manetti taking the win there and Orsini finishing in 4th place. There's old Marco De Paul is being hit there by Jarno Trulli, former champion, in fact last year's European champion, Jarno Trulli. Well, it looks as though the Tony kart is a little better in this second race. Those green and white overalls, the white kart, they are the identifying marks of the factory Tony karts. Jarno Trulli, Christoph Vassor, Johnny Mislievich, the 3 drivers, very, very quick, very competitive. And well, it's a serious business at this level. The factory's very involved. These guys will be testing every week virtually to improve the performance of their karts, and a lot of it also down to the performance of the tyres. The Tops Works teams getting the pick of the tyres from Bridgestone and Vega, the 2 tyre companies doing battle. But it's Bridgestone who have the advantage here at the moment once again, thanks to Alessandro Manetti. And it would certainly appear as though Vega's this year struggling a little bit, particularly in Formula Super 8, to be quite on the pace. Nicola Gianniberti, a former champion, well, he's not having a very good year so far this year. He's one of the leading Vega drivers. That going through is indeed Jarno Trulli taking Marco De Paul. So Trulli goes through, and oh, it looked for a moment as though David Foré would also manage to squeeze through, but I don't think he managed it. Christoph Vassor running a bit wide there, number 67. And there is David Foré, another of the quick Frenchmen. But Jarno Trulli now beginning to make his presence felt, the Italian, with such a good background, such a good career in karting. 21 years old now, Trulli. There he is, number 22. As we switch once again to a look at our race leader, Alessandro Manetti. But Jarno Trulli won the event in Japan, the sister event, if you like, to the event that Daniel Weldon won out there just a few weeks ago. But here in Belgium, Jarno Trulli not having quite so much success. Good battle there. 45, Palmieri trying to squeeze away past Foré. There's Orsini. And Orsini now is ahead of Beliki, as we saw. So that means still Manetti leading, Orsini in 2nd position, Beliki now in 3rd. And you have to say that with a lead like that, Alessandro Manetti looks as though he should be able to cruise to a 2nd straight win here. It's all looking very, very comfortable indeed. And well, he must be regretting the fact that he wasn't able to compete in the 2nd round in France in Salisbury. He had 2 third places in the first 2 races in Italy, Alessandro Manetti, but with not racing in France due to his other commitments, of course, no points, and that's really dropped him out of any chance of the title. But with this sort of performance that he's showing here in Belgium, then surely he would have been able to give Orsini a challenge for the title and continue that battle all the way through. But Orsini already in 2nd place is looking ominously good for him in terms of taking the European title here. Palmieri getting past David Foré. And the question is, of course, which of these guys is going to be the next star of motor racing. We've seen so many quick guys in recent years. Most recently, I suppose, you have to say Jan Magnussen, last year's British Formula 3 champion, former world champion in karting. Dario Franchitti was also a very quick kartist. Those two, of course, both racing in the German and International Touring Car Championships this year, but also another one very quick in karting, Giancarlo Fisichella, Italian Formula 3 champion last year, and also doing the German Touring Car Series and International Series with Alfa Romeo this year. And surely those three, to mention just a few, are some of the major prospects for success in coming years. So this breeding ground really does work, and that is David Forte getting past Marco De Pauw. De Pauw dropping away a little bit in this latter stage of the race. Coming under a bit of pressure now from Charlotte Hellberg, number 26 there. Another of the girls racing in Formula Super 8, and very, very quick once again, Charlotte Hellberg. Not quite as well up in this race as she would have hoped. And the season so far hasn't been going quite as well as might have been expected, but again, she's another of the drivers on Vega tyres, and has to be said that those on Vegas do seem to be struggling a little bit this year. Manetti from Orsini. That gap has definitely closed down a little bit. Manetti, who had such a comfortable lead in the early part of this race, well, it definitely does seem to be closing down a little bit to me. Perhaps Orsini has been looking after those tyres a little bit more effectively. Still Baliki in third place. Meanwhile, Nicola Gianniberti, there he is, number 25. He's been working his way up the order pretty impressively. He started pretty much down the back of the grid. He was in fact in 30th place out of 34 on the grid. Gianniberti now definitely well up in the top 10, so that's a very promising performance. Manetti now definitely coming under pressure from Orsini, though. Look at the way that Orsini on the red Swiss Atlas kart has caught up to Manetti over the past few laps. And now he's really beginning to apply the pressure, and that lead that Manetti had that looked so comfortable, that made it look as though he was heading for a very easy second victory, is now looking a little bit more under threat. So can Orsini find a way past and really wrap up the European Championship in style with still 2 races to go? Orsini, so experienced. He's been karting now for 9 years and is a former European champion. So it won't be anything new perhaps to win the European Championship this year, having won it back in 1991. But nonetheless, it's a real achievement at this level. And to have won it twice, well, that really says something for the man. A professional kartist. He'll be earning good money at racing karts at this sort of level. And probably quite happy to continue racing karts at this level rather than struggling to finance a campaign in single-seater racing. He only has to ask the man that's leading him at the moment, Alessandro Manetti, about the difficulties of finding money to go single-seater racing. And Orsini may be quite happy to remain as a works driver at this level, earning a good living and racing at the very top level of this form of competition. Onto the straight then, and it looks as though Orsini's going to challenge this time. Dives down the inside, takes the lead from Alessandro Manetti, who looked so comfortable for so long, but he just can't quite hold on in the latter stages of this race. And Orsini goes in front and is heading towards the 1995 European title. Well, karting so popular all throughout Europe at its various different levels, and although this might be the very top level, it is an immensely popular sport, of course, all over the UK. Different classes of karting, very healthy 100cc karting scene with karts similar to these, racing up and down the country every weekend. And a very different, but nonetheless very enjoyable indoor karting scene as well. But very, very different sort of equipment in indoor karting to these thoroughbred machines. These two-stroke high performance Formula A and Formula Super A karts are really very, very quick indeed. Acceleration comparable with some very quick single-seater racing cars. They're so light, 140 kilograms all up with the driver, and they're just so responsive as well. Tiny movements on the steering wheel, the finesse required to drive these karts at speed, really very, very high indeed. And of course we can see why drivers like Michael Schumacher, reigning world champion, spend so much time, so much of his free time when he gets a chance just enjoying driving a kart. These type of machines to keep him in shape and to enjoy it basically. Great fun as well as a great challenge. On to the last lap then, Massimiliano Orsini, and it looks as though he's going to take the second win here in Belgium. Manetti, winner of the first race, looks like he's going to have to settle for second this time around. Still in third place behind these two is Andrea Bellicchi, and he's had a good weekend. A couple of top performances from Bellicchi, and that certainly won't do his championship hopes any harm. But it's not going to be a chance for him to win the title, because that's going the way of Italian Massimiliano Orsini. There is Bellicchi, number 9, coming through in third position. Looks as though he's going to be able to hold on to that, and completing a good day for Fullerton and JAG. Been a very successful weekend for them. But it's Orsini winning it, wins the second race, and with it he wins the European title. Manetti in second, Bellicchi taking third place, Daniele Perilla taking fourth position, Nicola Gianniberti taking fifth, and that a tremendous performance from Gianniberti, who started right towards the back of the grid. Good performance from British drivers as well. David O'Neill managing to take 8th position in the end, with Bobby Game in 13th, Edward Bede in 15th place, and Michael Simpson ending up in 18th position.
Well, this
is Massimiliano Orsini saying, well, it was very difficult in the early laps. It took a few laps for the chassis to really come in and start working, but then I was able to catch up to Manetti. And I basically waited for the right opportunity to pass. Obviously, European Championship, I'm absolutely delighted.
I changed something for the second final. Yeah, the first lap I was very fast, but it's like Lonato, the last two laps Orsini more fast to me.
So the celebrations on the podium once again, and particularly for Max Orsini taking his second European Championship in his karting career. Great day for Swiss Hutlers as well.
Yeah. Okay, that was a great day's racing in Mariembourg. Where next, Max?
See you in Genk in Eurosport.